One. Good afternoon, everybody. It is Fantastic Friday. We all know what that means. We get to spend some more time with Michael Zuber for one rental at a time. How's it going, Michael?
Good. How are you?
Living the dream.
Yeah.
Living the dream. It is not a typical Friday at my normal job. It's kind of actually kind of funny. But I digress. I get to talk about some fun stuff. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about today, and I think that this is something where I think, our mission in life is trying to help people create that financial independence, financial freedom through real estate. Mm-hmm. You've got the fantastic books. You've got the great course. We have all the things that are there that people need to get started. I think one of the things that I find, and one of the things that I was just kind of looking at when I try and, so at night, that's when I'll usually sit down, I'll look at the different Facebook groups, try and answer some questions and do some things like that after the rest of my household is asleep. And one of the things I picked up, and I don't know why, I think it actually just came up in one of my feeds. It was not one of the 3 or 4 groups I answered questions in. And I started reading some of the assertions, and it really reminded me that people hate landlords. Hate them.
Yeah, there's a set of society that deems all landlords, and I underscore all landlords, as evil, greedy son of a gun.
Yep. And
I would argue that some of the government included in that. I mean, you saw what happened with the eviction moratoriums, which I said day one was unconstitutional. 9 months or 18 months or whatever it was later, it was proven to be so. But they were playing a game. They were buying time, knowing that our system would allow some time to go by. So I think there's a lot of people that think all landlords are greedy, evil slumlords. And I would tell you that, yes, there are some greedy, evil slumlords.
Sure.
I would tell you the lion's share of landlords are good, honest people looking to have safe housing. They're doing it for the right reasons. And lots of landlords lose money all the time because they're willing to bend over backwards.
Yes. And
so I got to tell you, get thicker skin because it's coming. And again, it doesn't matter if you do all the right things. I mean, what people don't realize is in the aftermath of what happened in 2020, Olivia and I gave up about $50,000 in total rent. People just needed help, right? We didn't know what was going on.
Yep.
We were lucky enough to be in a situation where we could do that. We will never get any credit for that because people will say you are evil and you should do that. Well, screw you. I should do that. There's a contract out there. I did it because it was the right thing to do, and I had the ability to do that. You've got to be ready for some hate. And I want to remind people that just as many evil landlords, there are evil tenants.
Oh yeah.
We've had tenants destroy stuff, be destructive, and it goes both ways, but nobody talks about it. Like when you have a tenant who is incorrectly renting your place, they got a sublease which is not approved, and then you call them on it and simply ask for them to fill out an application, and then they fill out an application with false information, and you say, hey, we not okay. Like the only thing that was accurate was his name. And then you go throw a hammer party where you give everybody a hammer to destroy the units. That happens. That happened to us. So again, I do think the ratio is the same with evil landlords as evil tenants. I think 98% of my tenants are awesome. 1% needs to be reminded to pay rent, and then the other 1% are problems. I think the ratio is probably the same with landlords, but that's not what society, nobody ever tells. I've never seen one article written about nasty tenants. It's always nasty landlords. I don't know why that is.
Ooh, ask me.
Okay, why is that?
It's because most people think that all landlords are rich.
Yeah, well.
They think that all landlords are rich, and it's the haves and the have-nots. And it's the, one story after another, your book, all the things that we see on One Rental at a Time's private Facebook group, all the things that we see on, the Three Amigos of FI, on those groups. The thing that we see consistently is people making financial and time sacrifice to invest in this asset, i.e. a house or a small multifamily, in order to give people a nice place to rent as a service. And then in turn, they get paid for providing said service. And often it is, at last night is a perfect example. I have 106 units, but Ashley was putting the kids to bed last night at 7. I was going out and getting somebody's heat system restarted because they let the oil run out.
Which is 100% on them.
100% on them. And their option was they could call an oil company. The oil company would charge them $125 plus a fill fee, and they could get filled and be taken care of. But then they also let me know that they didn't have the money for the oil. So that's why it didn't get called. So I could make the choice then to go, that's the way the mop flops. Wear extra blankets tonight. Or I could go over there out of my own time, go to the pump and buy $25 worth of diesel fuel, go over to the system, spend time getting the system regoing, making sure that I'm also leveraging my relationship with the oil company and saying, I'm going to need a delivery tomorrow. I know you're busy and it's Friday and you're closed on the weekends, but I'm going to need a delivery tomorrow. I'm doing all of this work because that tenant was lazy and that tenant couldn't care less. And the tenant wasn't even willing to bail themselves out. They were looking for the landlord to bail them out.
Yeah, they probably felt it was your due responsibility to bail them out for their bad choices.
Of course it was. Of course it was. Same exact thing happened with somebody else. And it was the same exact scenario, almost the same exact scenario. Let the oil run out. It clogged up the system. We had to get a $600 service call and cleaning. And he said, well, service is your responsibility. I said, it clogged because you let the oil run out and it sludge pulls from the bottom and it's a gravity fed pump. That you caused that problem. Had you not run out, that wouldn't have been a problem. Well, I'm not paying. I guess we'll have to see, won't we? So my option is, and again, landlords do bend over backwards for their tenants. I didn't have to be out there at 7 o'clock last night, missing my kid's bedtime. My son had a meltdown because we have a very specific regimen. And it bothers me that people that make those same sacrifices that I do and that you do, and that you'll pay for that, or you'll get the bill for that. And you'll be like, okay, and just because we have more, we're supposed to pay it. So the whole purpose of this video is to make sure that people really understand that, largely speaking, you are going to be on the hook for absolutely everything and making it right. So be aware of that going in, because there are plenty of great tenants that do take some responsibility, but largely they're not going to go figure out that they have to, in cold weather climates, they're not going to figure out that they have to go get diesel fuel and get it in there and then to know how to restart a system. They're not going to know any of that. So that's instantly your burden. Yep. They're also not going to have the money to pay to have that done. Yep. So it's something that everybody needs to be prepared. That's why Mike and I so often talk about those reserves. You got to have those reserves. You got to make sure that the deal's not too skinny, where it gives you enough return where you can handle things like this and fees and costs. But also, even just on the human side, be emotionally prepared. When you have rental properties, you are a have, not a have not.
Yeah, and again, everybody talks about what's fair and not fair. It's not fair, but it is reality. So be ready for it.
Yep. I always tell people, if you really want to see the state of mankind, become a landlord.
Oh, agreed. Agreed.
Right? You see the entire cycle. You see people using it for a leg up to get into the next thing. You see people using it and looking for handouts to just take that next handout that they believe that they're due. So I'm thankful that you were able to cover this with me, because I think it's really important for new landlords to grasp. At the end of the day, you're going to have to take ownership of every single thing that comes up, even if and even when it's not your fault, and people are still going to think ill of you, still think that it's your responsibility, and still think that largely it's your fault. So I stopped apologizing for the rainy days that I bring, because apparently those are my fault too. So Mike, where can everybody find you, my friend?
One rental at a time. And I go live Saturday mornings at 8 a.m.
Yep. And if you can't find him on YouTube, you aren't looking. There are only 5,000 videos out there with Michael in them. So there's plenty of content. As I always say, we try and create awesome content for you guys. Please subscribe, hit the like button. And by all means, if we're wrong, put it in the comments. I'd love to hear some perspective on that.
Yep.
I have no problem with that. Or if people have been through exactly the same thing, let us know. So, hey, we're not alone. Mike, thanks so much for the time. See you in segment number 2.
Thanks.